Greetings, my name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, licensed presenters, the Core New Core, my patrons, and anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor or student. I hear half the chorus murmuring, "We are all students." I started out with 3 and then had one that needed to get in there I left out, so I went to 4. In terms of the titles I have today, Legs in Short Box is 1, You Can Feel It is another, Boost Your Confidence is a 3rd, Doing Pilates Honors Being Human is the 4th. And I'm digesting information I've been absorbing over the weekend. Throughout my broadcast, I've been trying to promote you becoming a presenter and being able to cover 5 things, and that would be a way to empower you to add 2 and 2 by sharing knowledge that was valuable, at least that some may find valuable. So number 1 of my 4 is legs on the short box. Social media, watching some short box happening, and seeing bent knee and knowing the difference in the feeling between doing short box with bent knees versus straight legs, and what kind of tension alternatives that affords you or restricts you to, out of seeking perhaps to isolate the effort at the core. In terms of progression, Pilates usually establishes control with straight limbs, like arms and legs, first, before articulating a joint within that limb, like the knees or the elbows. Okay? So it's always more about the progression of where you came from, where you are now, and where you're going to. And because where you came from is history, and where you are now is just the point at which you choose where to go to next. That's where having a point of view to steer by, which you already have, Number 1, well, this is number 2. I got to keep my numbers straight. You can feel it. You can feel it. So, in thinking of being a presenter, I brushed up against being a speaker and the marketing going on social media about being a speaker. And for less than $6, you could buy the manual, and then in giving your credit card information, still being sold for more stuff on decreasing value of items, because I consistently said no, all I wanted to do was see what was in the $6 worth. But the marketing was an education all its own as to how things are sold and how people attempt to make money at it in a way that I was unfamiliar with, because I'm just an old guy that barely gets out into the world. in being a speaker, this education talks about a before and after, and that you were where your listeners are now, but now you're after that, and your intent is to help your listeners get to where you have come to. Information on a subject like Pilates, and in terms of what matters the most, who is my most ideal client, that's a good thing they spent time on. You know, who are you that's listening? Who are you? And in my mind, you're totally passionate about Pilates, right? And want to learn everything you can about it, and have as much of it in hand as you can possibly get, right? To have an understanding of it, to have comprehension of it. Why? So that you can be confident in your efforts to do Pilates, and the extension of that, help others in their effort to do Pilates. So, in what would be my speech that would be about CT and MMP, that solution or that knowledge, I'm being suggested to frame it in this thing of been there and this knowledge took me somewhere new, which it does in a way. So after my broadcast today, I have two offers to make, or two avenues to make, and I'm all the more clear from exploring an outright teaching situation to just being so interested in replicating this with you, meaning my interest in speaking about and sharing with you what will be transformative in your comprehension of Pilates. The great thing in talking about CT and MMP is that both things you refer to, you can feel. You can feel core new tension. It may take a while to get there if you're tight or stiff or however, but fail to embrace your imagination to engage in oppositional rotation between axes. Rotate your body like this between those places of rotation in opposition to one another as you go along the line. Just, because the point is making the tension between the endpoints, and in making that tension you feel that, both in terms of how heavy you are in space, you're loading, and alignment between the endpoints. And so not only do you seek to align endpoints in a line in gravity, which is the most sensational, but out of the tension that you make between endpoints, not only can seek a straight line, like reaching out on the long barrel, right? 5 points on a line. I don't really like 6 there, I like 5. Meaning ears, shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles with a dorsiflexion in the ankle as the end point, out of which connects to the end at the ears. If you're exotic or real controlled, you'll be able to go out on your own at a demi point and plantar flexion and reach for 6 points on a line. But in the spirit of doing the training, there's the paradigm. I've said it before. You go deeper in rather than further out, and until you're really at the extent of what you're going to accomplish from an endpoint at the ankles. There's a lot to be gotten in that engagement that takes you deeper into your engagement. It's a fine trade-off between being at your end limit or as many endpoints as you can on a line. It's in making that core new tension that you get sensation between the endpoints. And that's what makes core new tension sensational. And then when it comes to MMP, just one view of Pilates between yours and mine and everybody else's, right? This view of Pilates, MMP, says that Pilates is an experience. And that the experience is defined right here in Joe's book. Contrology is complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. And in the very next paragraph, contrology develops the body uniformly to the extent that you know about core new tension. You know how engaging in core new tension, not literally, I know different physics, but you are in distributing your load as evenly as you can by creating oppositional tension between endpoints. In creating that tension, you distribute the load. And so in terms of your own pursuit of Pilates and your instruction of it to others, and in the presentation that I'm trying to see now as a speech, same thing in a way. Might have to stand up to give it though. Might have to practice that. So, my notes say, boost your confidence. How well do you understand what's going on? You know, how well do you understand what's going on? And by that, I'm referring back to previous broadcasts where the baby is in water and is unaware that they could stand up until they discover that, because the water is that shallow. And if you're an adult and had some adventure and swam from a lake into a shore, there's a real sensation or a feeling of that comes in when you wonder or wait for or anticipate the bottom coming up underneath you. This speech is meant to help draw the bottom up underneath you so that you can stand up on your own. And what you're standing up on is Joe's book. Now, that may not be enough for you, and there's certainly a lot of other knowledge to gather and glean and participate in and share that comes through the lineage of word of mouth and the experiences led by and described by word of mouth, folklore. MMP is a theory that points to an experience as the essence of what it is. One point of view, really narrow, and there's everybody else's. But in this point of view, Pilates has an essence of its own. That essence is an experience. And understanding that clarifies why it is what it is, because it's the experience. The why of Pilates is the experience. And then saying what it is, now you know. So doing Pilates, this is my number 3, doing Pilates honors being human. And it's just so abstract and general today. I hope that the short legs, or that the legs comment on short box, was something more specific in Pilates for you. And yet, in broad terms, doing Pilates honors being human because we're treating ourselves properly. In reality, we're honoring the reality that we find ourselves in, and we're seeking to prepare ourselves properly for whatever comes up. That's like a paraphrase out of Joe's book, right? It's training, it's a routine, and it's done as preparation. And what is done is a reflection of the reality that we find ourselves in. To the extent that MMP looks at it, the biology and the physics. All the way out to quantum physics, but the biology and the physics. So when you get a scrape and you want to tend to it to see it doesn't get infected and to protect it and put a Band-Aid on it to give it time to heal. Because if you don't, it can get lethal. And it's about surviving. Here I am, I'm running through the jungle, right? Trying to survive what? Trying to survive this. This is heavy. It's rock. It's heavy, okay? It's a uniform medium, gravity. It's the same everywhere. No matter how far we look or how small we go, gravity is a uniform medium. And so it's no surprise that Joe talks about contrology develops the body uniformly. Because to the extent that we're developing uniformly, we're as light in space as we can be. I know that's not as scientific, factual, here's the equation of it. But just from my own experience, the more musculature that I have contributing to my effort, the more dynamic and the lighter I am in space. So doing Pilates to me is like a reaction to reality. And it's and the mat choreography as a reaction is meant to be a reflection of reality. And the body conditioning itself to be as efficient as possible in being, not just the body, you, being ready to meet the moment. And it's the moment that we're all in as biological creatures. We're born, we live, we die. And Pilates is about surviving. And it's simple enough. It's not complex, and you can just, Pilates is acknowledged to me, and hopefully to you can see, Pilates is about acknowledging three capacities within everyone. Their being, their thinking, and their observing. And that the magic you pursue in doing or teaching Pilates is in coordinating those capacities in the pursuit of the ideal movement the choreography represents. No, it doesn't mean, see, that's the target. Now, a lot of variation and expression and diversity comes into Pilates. From the MMP point of view, knowing the state of being you're after and knowing that your pursuit of the choreography is meant to be ideal and flowing from one exercise to the next and progressive in loading and pattern. Your introduction to an awareness of a theoretical perspective, because MMP is theoretical, it's a theory. It comes right out of Joe's book. So if you appreciate the theory, you know what it stands on, or what's in here. And that's the best gift I can give you. Because, see, and here's where this whole being a speaker thing and talking about where people are and the transformation you're bringing them through and what you're sharing with them, what I'm sharing with you, how that goes, is the awareness that there is a point of view that offers an explanation for what it is. And that point of view goes beyond which seeks to ignore an explanation. So my closing comment is that we are in this together, and by together I mean we're all individuals, we're all humans, and we all share much of the same reality, whether we like it or not. Reality sort of is what it is, regardless of what we make of it. And when it comes to MMP, it's biology and physics and reproducible data that bears significance. Acknowledging that there's a lot of the spectrum of Pilates that exists outside of and has no interest in biology or physics. But MMP looks at how does the biology survive in the physics. So when we do Pilates, because it is a reaction to reality and meant to be a preparation for whatever comes up, and to be ready for whatever comes up, your capacity in being coordinated within your capacities, meaning being present in the moment, within a coordination of those capacities, If you want to survive, that's a good way to do it. If you want to make your best effort at whatever it is you're doing in your movement, being aware of a theoretical point of view that might actually connect you to the foundation that allows you to stand up on your own and have a personal relationship to Pilates, to its creator, with an understanding, a comprehension of what it is and why it's arranged the way it is, to the point that you can see the grammar and then speak the language. So that's part of that transformation this training course was talking about, I guess. Going from lists on the wall and external perspectives, defining or viewing what is there, if you're curious at all, you're my primary person, because I have something to share, and I've done my best to do it over the last 1,327 days, just weekdays within that time. So 5/7 of that number have pretty much been broadcasts. And perhaps practice for and preparation for not only going live, but going in person. Better do that while I can, because live can't live forever. Read between the lines and see behind the curtain. Connect the dots. Evaluate points of view. Know how to add 2 and 2 by making an offer. And maybe it's just an offer to speak and see, I wasn't thinking of that clearly enough in terms of too much presentation and not just an offer to be a speaker in the whole realm of just being a speaker, Toastmasters and all that. All right. Evaluate points of view. Add 2 and 2. Direct your thinking. And Geist.